So in the last 2 weeks, I made 2 videos about Giannis Antetokounmpo, so I really hate to go back to that well so soon, but very clearly he's going to be the main topic of discussion this offseason, in addition to Kevin Durant. But regarding Giannis, I actually woke up this morning to some pretty fun breaking news.
Greeny, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time NBA MVP, has not made any firm decisions about his future, but sources tell me for the first time in his 12-year NBA career, he is open-minded about whether his best fit is in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere.
And one of the reasons I want to make this video is simply because that report came from Shams. And I do think that means something because truthfully, he's one of the only people that I trust when it comes to this stuff, because the other 99% of reports that you get, especially during this time of year, it's all BS that's put out by a publication to push their agenda or generate leverage for one side of a party or to get clicks for somebody's random website or video. Like, for example, immediately after that Shams report came out, I saw this post from a guy named New York Post Lewis who said the Brooklyn Nets are ready to pounce on Giannis Antetokounmpo, which, like, no kidding. The guy from New York thinks that the Nets have a chance to land Giannis. And also, why is the word pounce in quotation marks? Did you get a direct quote from the Bucks GM saying they're ready to pounce on Giannis? Or did you talk to a guy who works the concession stands and he was talking about pouncing on Giannis in a different way? Pause, unpause. Like, what are we doing here? And also, on top of that, the report itself is dumb. Like, no kidding, the Nets are interested in Giannis. 29 other teams are too, including the Bucks. And they're probably not going to be able to keep him. So the point is, all these reports, for the most part, are stupid. I'm sure this guy is just trying to get clicks like everyone else to his New York page. That's why I found the fact that Shams put out this report himself, that it does mean something. Because I do find him to be probably the most honorable reporter out there. Even when Woj was doing his thing, he's a guy who many times got exposed for pushing an agenda, so I never even really trusted him. And by the way, too, just to spend a minute to defend myself, although it's not really necessary, there's a select few that call me a master clickbaiter, and that's just nonsense. I think it's way off base because, one, every single content creator posts an engaging thumbnail. They also all ask you to subscribe, and while I'm not going to do that, I am going to point out that 57.6% of y'all watching this video are not subscribed. So if you want to, you can. It would help me out a lot. But let's get back into the video. Or title, which is meant to generate interest to get people to click on their content of work. That doesn't mean it's clickbaiting. That's called a hook, something that newspaper writers have been doing for centuries, something that they teach you in elementary school when you're writing an essay. That's called a hook. And then two, the very few people who do think I'm a clickbaiter, they probably just don't read the titles of my videos. They'll see a thumbnail like I did a week ago that said Giannis to Miami in the thumbnail. But then the title of the video very clearly states Giannis Antetokounmpo trade package. But then they'll comment on my video and say, oh, you tricked me. You said Giannis was coming to the Heat. And it's like, I didn't say that. I said, here's a trade package. And in the thumbnail, I can't put, here's a trade package for Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat. It's too many words. You can fit 3 words max. So I put Giannis to Heat. Like, read the title. I'm not a clickbaiter. Not that I really have to sit here and defend myself. I kind of find it funny every time I get those few comments. But anyways, back to the Shams reports. Of course, I trust him, but I do think his wording is a bit weird. He says that for the first time in Giannis's 12-year NBA career, he's open-minded about whether his best fit is in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere. And it's like, I don't really think that's true. I mean, we've heard many examples of Giannis in the past saying that if he doesn't think he can win in Milwaukee, he will consider leaving and going elsewhere. I mean, we showed those examples in my video a week ago, so I don't want to spend too long on it. But I think Giannis has probably been thinking about this for a long time. But it is true that this is the first time that a national credible reporter like Shams has directly reported on something like this, which is why I do think that does mean something. And Shams did say that Giannis hasn't made any firm decisions on his future, but this is always how it goes when stars get traded. Like, trust me, as a Heat fan, I know what it's like because we're always in these rumors and never end up getting anyone. But that means that I'm always tuned in during the entire trade process throughout an offseason. So I'm going to tell you exactly how it goes, right? Well, step one kind of already happened, which is over the last few years, you get these little nuggets or these little inklings that a star may be disgruntled. Like for LeBron, for example, you heard rumors that he sold his house in Miami and enrolled his kids in school in Cleveland. And you just get these little nuggets that, okay, maybe they're either not happy somewhere or they're already planning to move somewhere else. And that's what we've been getting with Giannis these last couple of years, where he's been giving us these clips that he's just saying that he wants to win. So that's kind of the first step. The second step is that you get more and more reporting that a star is starting to get disgruntled or may be interested in leaving, which is what this Shams report today was. Now, step three is when you get that official Shams bomb, because I don't think that was today, but soon, hopefully soon, maybe within the next couple of months at least, we will get an official Shams bomb that will say something like, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks have officially agreed to mutually part ways. The Bucks GM will work with Giannis to find his most preferred trade destination, right? That's something you'll hear when it's kind of a amicable split like Giannis is, because I don't think Giannis is disgruntled. I just think that whole situation and era has run its course, right? So I think that's what the official Shams bomb will say. And then shortly after that, usually the same day, you're going to get the list. And that's my favorite part as a Heat fan that I always get excited for, because we're usually always on the list. Will we be for Giannis? Maybe, maybe not. If he wants to win a championship, probably not. But I suppose the Heat do have a history of building teams that could at least contend, so maybe we will be. But shortly after that, you're going to get the list, and then Giannis is going to end up somewhere on the list, right? That's the last step. Unless you're Damian Lillard, who is the only guy in NBA history who doesn't end up where he wants to go, except for, I guess, Kawhi Leonard, who was sent to Toronto. But like other than him, 99% of the time, the stars always get to where they want to go, unless your organization is ran by that bum-ass Joe Cronin. So that's basically the last step. And then I guess as a Heat fan, the last step is actually the organization coming out and telling the reporters like Barry Jackson and Anthony Chang, they'll say, oh, the Heat wanted Giannis. They tried to get him, but the Bucks were asking for too much. They wanted Bam Adebayo, and the Heat like assets. They like their team. They think they could compete. Whatever the deal is, right? We know the Heat are likely not going to get him. So where will Giannis go? Well, Shams states what we all know, which is Giannis wants to win.
Giannis Antetokounmpo has been very open-minded about at least expressing that he is going to explore options because his goal is to win a championship. He said it over the years that my goal, I only want to win and compete for rings. He said it on his brother Tanas's podcast last month that if I don't retire, if I retire without winning a second championship, he's not going to be able to essentially sleep at night.
And I love that quote, man, because truthfully, it reminds me of Jimmy Butler. And I always loved that about Jimmy. Like, I never doubted that the top priority for Jimmy Butler was wanting to win a championship. Now, I guess you could say I should have some doubt because he left Miami because they didn't want to pay him. So he also wanted his money too. But I think he saw that Miami wasn't going to win a championship. So Jimmy was basically saying, okay, I'm cool being on a bad team if you pay me, but I'm not cool being on a bad team if you don't pay me. Like, he wanted one or the other. And I kind of do get where Jimmy was coming from in that regard. But anyways, I do think Giannis would want to win, which is why the three teams that I think have the best chance to get him, that I've been saying, is the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Spurs. Because I think all three of those teams give him a great chance to win right now and for the future. I mean, Giannis is only 30 years old. I know his game relies heavily on athleticism, but I could still see him playing at this level for another 4 years at least, right? And obviously, all of those teams also have the assets, whether it's players or picks, that should entice the Milwaukee Bucks. And it sounds like Brian Windhorst agrees with me, because here's what he had to say on ESPN today regarding where Giannis might want to go and what the Bucks will be looking for in a trade.
Two things you have to know about the Bucks when you consider a trade. Number one, the Bucks do not control their first-round pick for 5 years. So you're going to look at teams that have players to trade and other teams' draft assets that they can trade besides theirs. San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston. Pay attention there. And the other thing is Brooklyn, because Brooklyn has Phoenix's future drafts. Yeah. The other team to watch, the New Orleans Pelicans. Why would I say to watch the New Orleans Pelicans? Because the New Orleans Pelicans control the next 3 drafts of the Milwaukee Bucks.
And it makes sense why the Bucks would want other teams' picks, because Brian said that the Bucks don't control their draft for the next 5 seasons, which is crazy to think about. I'd be terrified as a Bucks fan because you're likely going to suck after you trade Giannis, at least for several years. So you're going to want some kind of picks to help mitigate that so you can start to rebuild your team. If you are the Bucks and let's say you trade Giannis to Houston and you trade for Houston's picks, well, obviously Houston's picks are probably not going to be that good. So that doesn't necessarily help you jumpstart a rebuild. So I do get why they would want some other teams' picks. Now, if you're watching this video, then you are an elite ball knower. So why not take advantage of it with MyBookie? Listen, y'all, throughout the NBA playoffs, I'll be using their live betting feature to smash the Davion Mitchell overs and smash the Rudy Gobert unders, and then using their early cash out option to stack up the profits. If you want to do the same, make sure to sign up for MyBookie using promo code MM50, which will instantly boost your first deposit. And then once the games wrap up, you can check out their casino, which has blackjack and slots and roulette. You name it, bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Now let's get back into the video. So of course, Brian Windhorst agrees about the Rockets and Spurs having the best chance. He also mentions the Nets, which I can't see because I don't really see how they could build a contender around Giannis, at least not quickly. And we know Giannis wants to win. So assuming the Bucks obliged by his list, I don't think they'll send him to Brooklyn. But regarding the Rockets and Spurs, I did make a couple trade packages for them that we discussed in length a week ago, but I'll quickly go through them here again. With the first one, we have the Spurs receiving Giannis and sending over the expiring contract of Harrison Barnes and also Keldon Johnson and Stephon Castle with 5 first-round picks. Now, truthfully, I don't necessarily think it's going to take 5 first-round picks to get it done. I think that's quite a bit, especially if the Spurs are also adding Stephon Castle, who I do believe has all-star potential. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how many tradable firsts the Spurs actually have, because they actually have more than 5 if they wanted to, but it definitely wouldn't take more than 5. Of course, there's another scenario where the Spurs do add more picks, keep Stephon Castle. There's a lot of variations for all of these trades, but I think this would be a package that would be very hard for any team to beat unless you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, I guess. But I do want to note too that Harrison Barnes is maybe a guy that the Bucks could flip for more assets. Maybe Keldon Johnson is as well. He's still a relatively young player who's shown that he can average over 20 points per game. So there is the potential for the Bucks to get a lot of draft capital out of this trade. And then for the Rockets package, I have them sending over Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepard, and 3 first-round picks. Of course, I have them sending less draft capital just because they're sending over more young assets, which the Rockets do have a lot of. I mean, I doubt it, but if they really wanted Giannis, they could part with Alperen Şengün, they could part with Amen Thompson. That one I think is even more unlikely, but point is, the Rockets have a ton of young assets. They also have a ton of picks. There's going to be a big bidding war to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially amongst all those teams. Brian Windhorst did also mention the New Orleans Pelicans because they do have the pick swaps for the next couple of years with the Milwaukee Bucks. So I could see them being used as a third team. You know, maybe the Rockets trade for those pick swaps and then they could flip them back to the Milwaukee Bucks. Because, of course, if you are the Bucks and you plan on rebuilding and tanking, well, you're going to want your own picks back, or at least those pick swaps back, so you're not tanking just for those other teams to get a higher pick, which would be a nightmare scenario. I mean, imagine a good team like the Thunder. They win the championship this year, and then they got all these pick swaps, so that they still pick high in the draft every year. Like, it'd be a nightmare. So obviously, if you're the Bucks, you're gonna want those pick swaps back, which the Pelicans actually own all the way back from the Drew Holiday trade. So we're finally starting to see the ramifications of that. But from the Heat side of things, we talked about them enough, so I don't really want to get into the Heat trade package. Make sure you go check out my video about that if you want the full details. I made a 5-team massive deal where I truthfully think everyone wins, and I do think the Heat have a chance to get Giannis. I did not include Bam Adebayo because I don't think they would, but I do think that might be the only realistic chance where the Heat could get Giannis. A lot of people are saying that even if the Heat included Bam, they wouldn't have a shot. I don't think that's true, just because I think Bam Adebayo is still worth 4 first-round picks. So even if you flipped into another team, got those picks back, you're working with like 7 tradable first-round picks there, which if you can't get Giannis with 7 tradable first, I don't know what he is. He's not God. The guy can't shoot 3-pointers. Like, come on, let's be realistic here. If Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round picks, which I get that was an anomaly, but if Mikal Bridges went for 5 first-round picks, and I get that was an anomaly too, like, I don't think Giannis is going to go for much more than 4 first-round picks, although obviously agrees with what the context of the rest of the trade is, how many young assets are going each way. There's a lot that goes into all of that, but some things that could help the Heat. I mean, Giannis does have the same agent as Bam Adebayo, which means that the Heat have a good relationship with that agent. That could, of course, help in some trade negotiations, and it gives you an open line of communication, unlike Joe Cronin with the Damian Lillard trade. And also, I would assume, at least, that in addition to winning, Giannis wants to be in a big market. I know Miami's not a huge market like Houston or like Los Angeles, for example, but it is a big city. It is the glitz and glamour that he may want to get commercials and more sponsorships and all that other stuff after spending the entirety of his career in Milwaukee. It's obvious that Miami's just a stark contrast in the best way possible when it comes to just city environments. And there's also no state income tax, which is interesting because at the time of this editing, I saw this report from Sam Amico. You know him, the reliable writer for HoopsWire. He says that Giannis is reportedly intrigued by the idea of playing in a state with no income tax, which makes sense because he could save money. And good news is Florida has no state income tax, so that does help the Heat's case in addition to the Rockets, Spurs, Mavs, and Grizzlies. But this is good news if you believe the obvious. But let's get back into the video. So that's really all I got to say about this video. Let me know y'all thoughts about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do you think it's worth giving up the farm for him as a Heat fan? And where do you think he ultimately lands? Let me know all your thoughts and predictions down in the comments below. I do appreciate all the support, so make sure to keep liking and subscribing, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.